Welcome to episode 235.
You're listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast, where you'll learn the underground, closely guarded secrets that will revolutionize your real estate business. This podcast is all about helping you exit the real estate newbie zone and enter financial freedom, building up your real estate throne. This is Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast. And now your host, real estate investor, entrepreneur, world traveler, and nationwide mentor, Chris Bruce.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Escaping the REI Newbie Zone. I am your host, Chris Bruce. I want to say thank you for tuning in to today's show. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys cease to never really amaze me, guys. All of the love that we've been getting as a community, for this podcast, I really appreciate it. All right, I really, really do. I've been seeing you guys have been posting on your Instagram, on your Instagram stories about how much you guys have been loving this show and tagging me in the post. I really, really do appreciate it. I try to get to all of them, respond to all of them, or at least try to repost the ones that I see. That tag me on Instagram at Detroit Mogul when you're tuning into this podcast. So I want to say I do appreciate it. It's really humbling and really feels good that these episodes are either touching your heart or inspiring you or helping you in some fashion, form or fashion, right? Some type of way. So today, what I'm going to be talking about, I'm actually interviewing a guy from Detroit. All right. I love seeing other Detroit hustlers, other Detroit real estate investors that are crushing it. And I'm going to be interviewing a good friend, which I'm going to talk about in just a bit. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, once again, if you're looking to get into virtual wholesaling, all right, I do have a training available. All right. Some of you have been asking me, how can I start virtual wholesaling? How can I start flipping houses from my computer, from my cell phone? I'm seeing you testimonials all the time. I want to know how to do it. Well, you're in luck. Go to virtualwholesaleclass.com. All right. Again, virtualwholesaleclass.com. Register for the class, and you can go and sit in there for 60 minutes. I'm going to show you step by step of how to get started virtual wholesaling, even if you don't have any good credit, no cash to get started, and you're brand new. You don't need a real estate license at all. I'm going to show you how to get started. So go to virtualwholesaleclass.com. Now, today, a good friend of mine, all right, he has helped countless people get started in real estate, providing educational content where these deals have netted profit more than $20,000 in the past 5 months. Okay, his passion and dedication to grow of others is parallel to none. All right, now he is a college student. Okay, some people, went the whole route of not going to know. He's educated. All right, and he actually got a taste of real estate investing back in the days, back when the market was really good. And he grew his rental portfolio around before the crash. And he's been continually navigating through market, through ups and downs. And he's flipped more than 100 properties across the U.S. And he's always growing, aiming for continuous growth like we all are. All right. Now, he's generated $1 million in real estate profit. All right. He's led to building relationships with multi-millionaires that are now supporting this apprenticeship program by the way of private and gap funding. Okay. And so what you're going to learn is about this apprenticeship program. All right. And how you can actually get started. For those of you that are looking to get into the practicality of seeing someone walk you through a deal, a live, rehab project. All right, and show you the steps of how to actually get it, because rehabbing or how to get into start buying and holding properties for passive income. This is the guy you want to surround yourself with. All right, so I actually met him at a 10X GrowthCon event. We have been friends online for a while, and I met him at the 10X GrowthCon event. He had rented out this big, massive suite there at the Marlins Stadium for the event, which cost a lot of money. And he always was in there making sure he served everybody, making sure everybody was, treated well, getting great content, And he really shows that with his apprenticeship program with the students that enroll too. So let me go ahead and wait on no further. Introduce my guest today, my man from Detroit, Michigan, Brian Adamson. All right, everybody. Like I said on the intro, we have a very special guest. So let me go ahead and welcome on my guy, Brian Adamson. How you doing, Brian?
Good, Chris. How you doing, man?
Man, good, man. For those that guys tune in, you might not know Brian. You're going to get to know him on this call. He actually him and his wife took a beautiful trip to Dominican Republic. So, man, I just appreciate, you taking time out your day, because I know sometimes you need a vacation from a vacation.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. I appreciate you having me, man. I've been looking forward to getting on and kind of talking to you and talking to the people. Yeah, the Dominican trip was nice, man. It was nice.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for people that may not be in tune with you yet, can you give us a little story, back history of where you were before real estate and how you got involved with the business?
Yeah, so originally from Detroit, like yourself, yep. West Side of Joy Road and Greenfield. Basically, always been hustling, always trying to figure it out.
Right.
Growing up in the city, and sweeping up here in the barbershop at 12, shoveling snow, absolutely. Whatever we had to do to turn the buck, right?
Right.
And just always knew it was something else out there, but didn't know what the vehicle was going to be. And I happened to be in college, went to Central Michigan.
Okay.
And in the process, a guy that I knew from Detroit, older guy, he was like my de facto first mentor. He was flipping $60,000, $70,000 homes. This was back in 2006. So this was like my year in college.
Okay.
And buyers at that price point just aren't very financially savvy. So they needed people to come in and help them cover their down payment on their mortgage, right? Okay. And so they would get financed 80, 90% and would need that other 10, 20% down. So I was actually leveraging my refund checks in college, and I would bring in the funds to help them close, and then he would give me a return on my investment.
Nice.
I don't know how many of those we did, but we did pretty good. And then I started to build up my own nest egg. And my senior year in college, I went ahead and I got 3 cash flow properties of my own, which at the time I just thought I was buying rental property. I didn't understand what that meant, right? And then eventually broke ground on my house before I graduated college. And, as most homeowners, this was in 2007. I was affected when the market crashed as well. Absolutely. As a homeowner, but as an investor, I was well positioned. I had some liquidity built up to where I took advantage of the downturn in the market, and I bought like 20 doors. For people that don't know what doors are, they're cash flow properties.
Gotcha.
20 rental properties in my mid to late 20s, from 2008 to 2010ish.
Wow. So okay, let's talk about that. First off, and this is, most people come from an urban area, right? Urban city like Detroit.
Yeah.
To think about that you had the discipline to leverage your refund check in college, while most people buying Jordans. Like, how did you even get to that level?
Hey, listen, keep in mind, it was my junior year, right? So I can't tell you what I did with the refund checks freshman sophomore year. But no, seriously, man, it only made sense, right? It was like opportunity come up and I need 6, 7, 10 grand.
Right.
I got it. You know what I'm saying? I got enough Jordans now.
Right. That's what's up.
Yeah, but no, it was a big step though, man. It was.
Yeah. So, I mean, you leverage, in a sense, basically you was a private lender in college. That's
exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I was a private lender, just didn't know it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you leveraged that, and even to think that you to buy cash flow, like, my thing is getting in the mindset. What was going on in your head, or what things were you taught as a kid, or just like, because most people don't think, let me take my money to buy cash flow, right? To buy properties that are making money every single month. Most people think, if I'm gonna make an investment like that, I need a quick flip. Right. I want my money right then and there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, where'd you get that from?
Yeah, man. Honestly, bro, if I had to put it on anything, I had to say it was divine intervention, because exactly to your point, where we come from, we either see, which in my case was blue collar workers. My mom and dad were blue collar. Right. Their motto was, work hard, save your money. At some point, you retire and live the last 10, 15, 20 years of your life in bliss, right? Which that was never my dream.
Okay.
And then the other side of it was the guys in the street, right? Yeah. The ones getting money in the street. So at either end of the spectrum, we were never taught what we learned, right? Exactly. And back then, I didn't know about seminars. I didn't know about cash flow. I really didn't know about real estate investing. I just knew that you could buy houses and make money off of it.
Gotcha.
So, you know what I mean? And so for me, the only thing that I can attribute the idea coming from was divine intervention. Okay. And I just reacted to it, bro. It just kind of, it's one of those things where I can't explain it, but it was the only thing that made sense at the time.
Gotcha. Okay. And so about those, because I mean, everybody, thinks about Detroit and they're like, well, man, the market is not that good. So even just to think about that with a downturn, the price point of those properties, what were their average a door at that particular time?
So it was crazy, right? So like, say I just give you this perspective. So in 2006, the first house I bought, which I still own today, I paid like $138,000 for it in Southfield, which you're familiar with, suburb adjacent to Detroit. And when the market turned, I was actually able to do a short sale, which wasn't popular at that time. They took 6 to 8 months. It took forever and a day to get them done. And I had a third party buy it, and I then bought it back from that third party with a premium on top and got from up under for 28 cash because I was liquid at the time. Okay. So just to look in an 18, 24 month spectrum of $138,000 house, which then was $28,000 18 to 24 months later. And that narrative just continued even in Detroit, where I was buying houses. Literally, at one point, I bought a house for $2,500 on Marlboro on the east side of Detroit. And cash flow for $750. Dang. So, I mean, it's hard to fathom. You know what I mean? But when people hear like he bought 20 doors, you know what I'm saying? When he was 20 in his 20s, I did. But the price point is just when you say it to people, they don't believe you.
Right. Honestly. That's true.
But on average, I was paying probably $15,000 a door. That's not bad. These were $800 rents. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And I remember I gotta say, I didn't have the discipline to do that. Like, my whole thing was like flipping, right? So like, my dad kept telling me, "Hey man, you making all this money wholesaling, man. Like, buy you something to Detroit." And I'm like, I done lost the house in Detroit 2007. I'm like, I ain't really trying to do nothing like that. I done did it before. I'm like, I'm just keep wholesaling. And I didn't have that discipline of, even though my dad was telling me,
right?
To, to buy those doors and take advantage of the opportunity. So that's good that you did. All right. So you never really got into like wholesaling starting off, right? You went straight.
Man, I did not, bro. So like it's I didn't even know, and this probably gonna sound crazy. I didn't even know real estate seminars existed till 2015ish.
Wow, that's crazy.
So literally, I was just kind of like fumbling around,
right,
investing, but making money in the process. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. But I really just it's almost like I made money by mistake. You know what I mean? I just happened to be in position, and that's why I tell people start where you are, because I didn't know all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Looking back on it, I almost laugh at myself at times because I'm like, how did you even perform without knowing how to perform?
Absolutely.
But it's about taking action. And sometimes when you do that, you find yourself in the right situations. And that's what I happen to put myself in the right situation at the right time.
Absolutely. I agree, man. I mean, at the end of the day, listen, I know a lot of other cities of people are listening to this, but Detroit people breed hustlers, man. We're going to find a way.
Without a doubt. And that's that's an innate ability. You can't teach that. I can teach you all the rest of it, but I can't teach you how to hustle.
Exactly. All right, so fast forward. Okay, so you got these cash flow properties, and you don't really know about like the educational side of how to get into the wholesaling or things like that. So what was the next phase for you in real estate that you just organically got into?
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, as I said, I had all those doors, and because I picked them up at pennies on the dollar, I didn't put a lot of money into them when I bought them either.
Okay.
But eventually, as they continued to cash flow, they started to need investments, roofs, all the heavy lifting stuff. And so I then started to liquidate them for pennies on the dollar because I had already made my money throughout the process. You know what I mean? I was cash flowing free and clear on 20 doors.
Right.
So I started spinning them off, and I got to a place where I was like, man, I want to start flipping. I was actually working in corporate America at the time. And I was like, man, I really want to start flipping. And it's funny, I did a cash out refi on the first house that I bought back in 2006.
Okay. And
equity stripped it. And I had like 50 grand sitting in my account. And I saw an infomercial. Here we go, right? And so I attended the seminar. I was at the seminar, and it came down to either I leveraged the cash I had on hand to join the seminar, or go ahead and I've been approved by Hard Money Lender. Everything was ready to go. All I had to do was pull the trigger on buying my first flip. And I was like, I could do this one flip on my own, or I could join this network and do who knows how many flips, right? And that's what I did, bro. I leveraged the cash I had on hand and my credit, paid for a seminar, and then from there I got into a good network. I raised like 850 grand my first year.
Wow.
Flipping and private money, and learned that it was bigger business. Because again, I was from a place of ignorance as it pertains to the broader spectrum of real estate investing.
Right.
And it opened me up to OPM and hard money lending and just a myriad of other connections and concepts, including wholesaling, that I just wasn't privy to.
Right.
So that organically was the next step for me. And then from there, I bought probably 22 flips my first year doing it. Okay. And started to have contractor problems, the Achilles heel house flipping, right?
Absolutely.
But I did well in the process, but just started to see what the shortfalls or shortcomings was of the business. And organically, man, once I got all my infrastructure right-sided, essentially I paid for another tuition. It just was by way of house flipping this time. And I organically ended up starting my own network where I essentially filled that gap that I saw that everybody had from a real estate perspective.
Okay. And so you're doing all of this for people to understand, get a little more information about this, guys. A little more background is that you're doing this whole business, your whole real estate investing business is done in Detroit, right? Mm-hmm. And you're in Orlando at this point.
Correct.
Yep. And so that's what I want people to understand is that Brian has a business that is truly virtual. Like he's literally running his business. Now he travels back and forth, but his investing business is in a whole other area from where he lives, and that it is possible. For some people, they were like, oh, I can never not live in the same area where my investments are.
Yeah. I just met a guy in DR this weekend. He's an accountant by trade. He lives in Atlanta, and there was this other guy from Toronto. We were sitting there talking at the resort, and the guy in Toronto is a dentist, and he was like, oh, you got to buy everything right next door to you. And I'm like, that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, I buy where the margins are, right? Where I had an infrastructure at. And as long as you got margins and infrastructure, you can figure the rest of it out.
Absolutely.
I've done over 50 deals last year in Detroit while being right here in Florida.
Right.
And I teach my students how to do exactly the same. And then you do everything virtual.
Yep.
It's a misnomer that's out there. Everybody think that you got to get money in your backyard, which we do. I mean, I do some stuff locally as well. Yeah. But the lion's share of my business is done remotely.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Perfect. So naturally, as you're progressing, you're doing the flips. You're seeing that there is a need in the market, right? There's a need for the funding for people that want to get into cash flow properties, but just don't really understand how they can use their resources or tap into resources of other people. So then you create your own network, all right? And what is the name of that network?
So the name of my network is the Apprenticeship Program.
Apprenticeship Program.
Okay. Yep, it's coined exactly as it is. It's an apprenticeship program. You learn while you earn.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you start this, and is this for people that are like break down the whole apprentice program? What is if let's say I'm new and I'm like, Brian, I want to learn how I can start buying cash flow properties or how I can start flipping properties. What does that process kind of look like?
Yeah. So our key term in the apprenticeship program is concept to practicality.
Gotcha.
And so we give you the conceptual piece. We give you everything that you will learn going to any other seminar from an education perspective, how the business works, etc. But what we do and we do well is the practicality piece. So you come to me as a new investor, we're going to teach you how to become an investor. We're even going to take you out live in the field on one of our property field trips, teach you in the field all the different facets of construction, etc. But we take it a step further. We actually bring the apprentices to deals. We use my network of lenders, both hard money and private money, to get the deals fully funded for them. So we bring in the deals, we get the deals funded. Then we use my team of contractors in whatever marketplace that we're working in to actually flip of the property. And then we use my team of realtors to then go out and sell the property for them.
Gotcha.
So it's literally flipping houses on training wheels. And what I found was that all these other like real estate education outlets, they teach you all these facets. It's hard to connect the dots. I mean, it sounds simple, me just saying it, and you're right. But as you know, it's very difficult to put all those pieces together and make it work. And so we just we checked all those boxes. So that's where if I would say anything distinctly different from what we do versus what everybody else is doing, it would be that. It's the practical part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're right. I mean, if you have to tell someone that, hey, well, you got to go out and find your own deals, and then you got to go find the money to fund the deals. Right there, everybody's like, oh, no, that's not. Like, you're asking too much. You know, so I love that. Right. Like when I see you guys' videos, like taking people into, you know, the actual property, showing them the different things that need to be repaired and seeing the houses and stuff. And then seeing like your students that have actually had success. Like, you know, like Jay, you know, Monopoly, shout out to him. It's just amazing, man. You know, and I love that you guys are doing that because people need a little bit more hoe handling. You know, hoe holding, excuse me. Like people do, you know. There's only so much that someone can learn from a book, a course, a video. They got to really be right there.
No doubt about it, bro. And all too often, people have that level of angst or that sense of trepidation where they're not willing to take that first step. Figure, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's important for them to know from the gate, we got your hand right now. I mean, that's why I call it flipping houses on training wheels. We right here with you. You got the training wheels on. We'll take them when you're ready. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So is there being that you're doing all of this, right? So someone that's listening, they're like, oh, you got me. I'm ready. Like, is there a limit or a cap space you have of how many apprentices you take on?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously it's a fulfillment based program, right? So we're always conscious of managing how many apprentices that sign up at once, like at the 10X event, for instance. Great event, by the way. I know you enjoyed it.
Oh yeah.
We had a tremendous turnout at the 10X event, so we had to slow down the amount of apprentices that were signing up just to make sure that we had the deal flow management on the back end taken care of, which is very important, right? It's a practical program.
Absolutely.
But no, we haven't, to this point, we haven't been bottlenecked in any way. We taper it, you know, on an as need basis, but we haven't had any issue.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. All right. So for anyone that wants to get information about joining the apprenticeship program, is there like a website link or a phone number or something they can reach out to you? Or
they can actually they could DM me on Instagram, which is Brian_Adamson1. My team, they go through my DMs, etc. Or they could email info@bbrinvestmentgroup.com.
Definitely. Now, one thing I want to say, guys, listening, I finally had met Brian in person at a 10X event, and guys, this guy dropped like 30,000-40,000 for this suite, man. And he had, at one point, he had like 50-60 people in the room. It was crazy. But, you know, one thing I would say is that Brian is a very good leader, number one. And number two, the one thing that he's very good at is networking and putting the right people in place. Is there any type of like books that you would accredit to, or anything that's specifically on like putting the right people into the right seats? Because I have a feeling that some people, you know how some people can hire people and they'll hire them for one thing, and it's like, you probably shouldn't have put them in there. They're not good at that. They're supposed to be in this seat. Is there any books or anything that you accredit to that you just got really good at finding the right person in the right seat?
Man, honestly, bro, you know, and don't get me wrong, I do read, but I'd be lying if I said I read books. I listen to
audiobooks.
I'm not much of a reader, right?
Okay.
Like I drift when I read, but I can listen to audiobooks. But quite honestly, I just always had an innate ability to kind of read, engage, and identify with people and just kind of appropriately put them in spots. So I can't say any book per se, but I know that, you know, Damon John does a really good job at coaching leadership, and Grant Cardone especially as well. And those guys got a pretty good knack for explaining the X's and O's, how to go execute and putting people in different spots and building your power team, et cetera. But unfortunately, man, I mean, for me, it's just an innate, fortunately, it's just an innate thing, honestly.
Gotcha. Okay. And let me ask you, for those people that's thinking about investing in Detroit market, because everybody asks me, Chris, how's the market in Detroit? And should I invest in it? And I'm like, listen, I don't know much about the Detroit market because I haven't done anything in there. For people that's listening, what are your thoughts on the Detroit market right now and where it's heading in the future?
Listen, there's not a more diversified market in this country right now. And I say that in the sense of this. Typically, in a marketplace, it'll be a seller's market or a buyer's market. Right. Or it'll be a cash flow area or a good area to flip in. Yep. Detroit happens to be a unique marketplace to where you got buyer and seller markets and flipping and cash flow markets all in the same marketplace. So it behooves you to kind of know the market in that sense, because, you know, your ARV can drop, you know, 100 to 200K just by going less than a quarter mile down the road. You know what I mean? So saying to say, yes, it's a tremendous marketplace that's multifaceted, and it's got tons of opportunity with, I think at one point 3 months ago, Detroit was number 2 in the nation in terms of return on investment, next to Bridgeport, Connecticut. So it's a tremendous marketplace, but you just got to know what you're doing when you get there.
Absolutely. And that's why you guys got to get with people that are already experts in that area. You know, if you're looking to get into flipping or looking to get in cash flow, you got to connect with somebody like Brian that's already doing it, has a proven system. Because if you go out there on your own, more than likely you're going to make a ton of mistakes. And there's only a handful of people that actually fail for it. Most people just get out the game and just give up.
No, that's facts, man. I mean, I've been investing since 2006. I was a licensed realtor at one point in Michigan before I moved to Florida in 2010. And, you know, invested everything from cash flow to wholesale to fix and flip. In my first year flipping, I lost my ass. Excuse my language. You know, several $100,000 to build up the infrastructure that I have. Now, you know, luckily for me, I was doing such volume that I was able to recover. But most people throw in the towel after that. They don't think about not only did I fix my problems, but let me help mitigate risk for other people. So that they don't have to make the same mistakes that I made. Absolutely. And that's exactly what we've created with the apprenticeship program.
Got you. Okay. And I know you also, and we I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I know you actually have another program launching that is kind of a little bit under the apprenticeship program. Did you want to talk about that for people that's checking up, you know, tuning in right now?
Yeah. So again, the apprenticeship program is the practical program. You know, we teach you, but it's the 0 to 100 program for those that want to get in, get started, start seeing a return in their business. We're also developing a subscription-based platform. I think it's going to launch around March 15th or so. But it's going to be a subscription-based platform for those that want to kind of learn at their own pace, get spoon-fed, but yet a healthy diet of it, and can go through the modules at their own discretion. And I'll also be doing, going live within it, live interaction sessions. And then we're also going to have some of my affiliate providers there to provide wholesale deals all around the country, to provide real estate specific CPA service, to provide retirement services, IRA services, to provide LLC services to help people set up their businesses And so it's going to be a platform that's essentially a one-stop shop to where people can, you know, come there and not only learn, but if they want to take it to the practical piece, they'll have the tools there as well.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay, so how can they get connected with that to get more information about that when it's ready to launch?
That one, they can email everyoneflips19.com.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I said email. That's a website. Everyoneflips19.com.
Everyoneflips19.com. Okay, and guys, I'm going to make sure that I include the links and the emails and social media links as well on the podcast show notes. So if you guys are checking this out, wherever you're listening to this in, if you want to come back to the blog, escapethenewbiezone.com, on this episode, we will make sure that we include those links in the show notes. All right, so Brian, one last question. Well, before I ask that, how can anyone shout out your social media one more time so what people can be able to connect with you again?
Yeah, social media. My IG is Brian BRIAN _Adamson ADAMSON and the number 1.
Perfect. Okay, and the last question I want to ask you, I ask everybody that comes on this guest, if you were starting off brand new and you know what you know now, right? And you start off brand new, what advice would you give your old self to get your first deal closing and escape that newbie zone?
It's never going to be the perfect time.
Okay.
I would start exactly where you are. That's the only way to get forward movement is to start.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, there's so many people that get caught up with, analysis paralysis, watching videos, webinars, IG lives and all this other stuff. And it's like, just implement whatever you know.
Absolutely. Because I guarantee you this, and you know this firsthand, I don't care how many seminars you attend, how many books you read, how many, how to do videos you watch, you're going to still make mistakes. So you might as well start making them sooner than later.
Absolutely.
Right. And find somebody that can handhold for you, like yourself, like myself, so that we can mitigate those mistakes. It's not that you're not going to make any, but we can mitigate the big ones so that you're not heavily impacted like we were trying to figure it out on our own.
Absolutely. Perfect. All right. So, Brian, man, I want to say, man, thank you for taking time out your day and sharing this with our listeners. I know a lot of people gain a lot of value and insight from this. Guys, I want to make sure I include the show notes and all the links that I talked about, that Brian talked about. I'm going to include that on the show notes for this episode. All you got to do is come into the archive section, type in Brian Adamson, and you will see the episode pop up. Any last things you want to share with listeners?
Well, first of all, man, I just wanted to thank you for having me on. I've been wanting to do this for some time now, and I'm glad we are finally able to make the connection. But yeah, I mean, for the listeners, whether you do something with me, whether you do something with Chris, I mean, go find somebody to help you. That's the biggest thing. If you want to get in this industry, find somebody that's knowledgeable and credit worthy, check them out and get them to help you. Because at the end of the day, and Chris can attribute to this as well, because he and I have talked about it, we've got mentors and we're constantly always seeking more mentors to get us to the next level. And success leaves clues, as does failure. And if we're successful and we're using mentorship, then it's a reason for it, right? Don't overthink it. Everybody's skeptical, thinking that everything's
scam or something.
And it's not that at all. It's what works, and it's the reason why it's a very small percentage of people that excel, because they're the ones that believe and they make the step to make it happen. Absolutely.
All right, so guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you blow up our DMs. I'm gonna post it on our Instagram. Make sure you blow up Brian Adamson. Tell how much you love this episode on his Instagram. You can DM me too. If you post it on your Instagram story when we drop the episode, I'll make sure I repost it on mine. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this one, and you guys know my quote: don't live the dream, live your dream. I will see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast at www.escapethenewbiezone.com.